The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 53. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of courageous women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Want to learn how you can change your inner beliefs and attitudes? Download a free copy of the ebook by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey of self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today's guest, I have a special lady on today. She is from St. Petersburg, Florida. She is a counselor, and she's going to share her story today about her journey to self-confidence. She's a phenomenal lady. I'm so thankful that, she's here today sharing her story. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Erin Sharpe. So Erin, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Hi, everyone. I'm doing great. Sheena said, my name is Erin Sharpe, and I'm married to the wonderful David Sharpe that many of you may know, who is the former owner of Empower Network and the current owner of Legendary Entrepreneur. I've lived in Florida for about 10 years, and I am from New Jersey originally. I went to college in West Virginia, and I met my husband David about 7 years ago, and we only just got married about 6 months ago. And we have a beautiful daughter, Bailey. She's actually my stepdaughter, but I always just call her my daughter because I've been in her life for, like I said, about 7 years. So that's about it. That's me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with the listeners. And Erin, what's your cultural background?
My cultural background. Well, let's see. My mom is 100% Italian, and my dad is 100% Irish. And I was raised by my mom. She was a single mom, and a little bit by my grandma. So I was mostly raised with a lot of Italian cultural traditions, mainly surrounding food and the consumption of said food. I was raised Roman Catholic, but today I consider myself just to be more of a spiritual person, embracing all types of faiths and beliefs.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. How do you stay so skinny after eating all that Italian food?
It's actually a combination of good genes and a lot of exercise.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, no, it's really pretty amazing. I mean, I have a little bit of restraint these days. I really didn't have to up until I was 30. Which is what most people say, when it started to stick a little bit, all the pasta. Dave was totally blown away by the amount of pasta I actually ate when we met and when we lived together, and I would make dinner for the first time when we were, playing house and whatever. He'd be like, where's the potatoes? I'm like, I don't eat potatoes. I'm like, it's pasta or nothing. And he's like, oh, I never seen anybody eat so much pasta in my life.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that little tidbit. I thought that was pretty funny. What would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Well, favorite poet is definitely Rumi. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a 13th century Sufi poet, and he's absolutely my favorite poet writer of all time. And he's got so many amazing quotes. If you've never heard of him, and for anyone listening, definitely Google him and, feed your spirit with some of his amazing wisdom. My favorite quote that has to do with self-confidence, and it might seem a little, maybe not obviously related to it, but I'll explain a little bit more, is don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth.
I think that has to do everything with self-confidence, because I think especially as women, we're so prone to comparing ourselves to everyone else, right? So
see, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So you get it because you're a woman too. So that's exactly what I was thinking. It's just my whole life, I've been taught by people who were probably taught the same way, my mom and some of my other family members, and definitely by society, to kind of define who I am by looking to other people and what they're doing, and to what the cultural norm is or the societal standard of whatever I'm trying to be. And, I really like this quote because it just implores you to look within, and go on your own journey of self-discovery. And that really helps me embrace my self-confidence the most.
Thank you. I really love that quote that you shared, and I think it's something that all the women, or even men who's listening to this, can resonate with. Because I know I'm guilty of like always comparing myself to other people, and I have to realize sometimes I'm in my own journey, and be happy with the results that you have now. Like even Dave used to say, be happy where you are at this moment. So thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Well, that's tricky. I did start thinking about it a little bit because I knew that's what your podcast was about, which I think is absolutely amazing, because women especially, but also men, everybody needs to really embrace their self-confidence and figure out what that means for them. So I really like that. I think for me, confidence is kind of maybe like a state of being certain of something. And then when it has to do with myself, like we were just talking about, I've always really struggled with that, just being okay with who I am, knowing that not only am I making the right choices for myself, but even on a simpler level, just who I am is okay. Who I am is enough. So for me, self-confidence is really just kind of like humility in action, if you will. So seeing myself as who I am and then taking action based on that truth. I'm not any better or any worse than I think I am. I'm just I'm just me. And then really embracing that and learning to accept that and take action based on that truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense, right? I mean, a lot of people aren't living the dreams that they want is because of action, right? They're too afraid to take the action because maybe they're afraid of what other people might think, or, they fear the unknown, right? They're not too sure what's going to happen when they take that next step or take that leap of faith. So, I believe, just being true to yourself and taking the necessary actions to get there is, part of being confident, because it takes courage to do the things that you want, especially in a world where we have so much cultural conditioning of going to school, getting a job, and not doing anything else, right?
Right.
So I love that. Thank you so much. And Erin,
sure.
What was your life like before the discovery of self-confidence?
I think that's an interesting question, because for me, what I'm kind of realizing actually lately is that every day, every year, every season kind of brings new awareness and a new definition of self-confidence, a deeper understanding of that. So it's kind of difficult to think about, well, what was it like before? Because it always seems like this is before something deeper, if that makes sense. Like, clearly a long time ago, maybe like 5-10 years ago, I had absolutely no self-confidence in anything that I did. So I guess I can reference that as a time before, but it always kind of seems like I'm growing more and more. And with each new experience and each new challenge, I'm gaining like a new level of self-confidence. So there's lots of befores, if you know what I mean. But before I could even grasp like what it felt like to believe in myself, I think it was just a really confusing time, a really dark and chaotic kind of time where I really didn't know myself. So I think like we were talking about, it all kind of comes back to that, like really knowing yourself. So that's what it was like before. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to believe in myself because I didn't know what I was believing in, because I had no idea who I was. So once I started to be able to figure out how to do that by meeting different types of people and being introduced to new ways of thinking and new belief systems, I was able to kind of get a better grasp on what it meant to have confidence in myself, because I was starting to realize who I was as a woman, as a person.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Was there like a moment in time in your life when you did have like that moment or that aha moment when you said, you know what, I can start believing in myself. I am capable of doing the things that I want in my life. And, I'm more than enough to, just conquer the world or just do things that are amazing.
I think the first one I can remember is probably I went away to school in West Virginia and I was in a relationship, and it turned out to be an unhealthy relationship. And in the end of the relationship was actually an abusive relationship. And somehow I mustered up the courage and the confidence to leave that relationship. And actually, that's how I moved to Florida. I was like, well, I'll just go far away to a place where I don't know anyone, and that'll make it better. And it did, but that was really scary. And ironically, that wasn't when I had my aha moment. It wasn't until I actually got here and, for several weeks was grieving the loss. Even though it was an unhealthy relationship, it was still a loss. And then one day I woke up and I was all right. And I didn't think about it for like an hour, the fact that I was grieving. And I remember feeling like a sense of hope, like, wow, I can accomplish things. I can move away from negative situations and negative people into the light. I am capable of that all on my own. And that was really the first time I can remember having a glimpse of self-confidence.
Wow, thank you. That's such an amazing story, and it's great that you were able to sum up the courage to leave that person, especially being in an abusive relationship. Because there's so many women out there who stay for the sake of settling, right? They just think there's nothing better out there, and that's all they can do. And sometimes, we have to realize there's always a choice, right? There's always opportunities for you to leave and have a better life. And some of them have kids. It's like, what are you portraying to your children, that it's okay for a man to hit you or be abused? And it's great that you were able to get out of that, so because then it can, maybe some listeners are dealing with abuse, and when they hear the story, they can say, wow, she was able to get out of it, then I can get out of it, right? Because what's possible for her is possible for me. So
yeah, definitely. And it was especially scary. Everybody's pain is their own. For me, it was like I was really young. I had never known anything else, not even the love of a father. I mean, it was like the first man I ever thought loved me and that I ever thought that I loved. So it had this like immense grip over me. And I was really young. I was totally broke and in debt from college. And somehow I managed to make it happen. I really, to this day, I kind of think it's like this mystical thing that happened. Like looking back on it, I'm like, it really doesn't make sense that I decided to leave. But for some reason, I was able to do that. And I feel really grateful because my life got exponentially better over the last 10 years since that happened. But yeah, I mean, I really hope that, somebody can hear that today, that even if it seems impossible, it's not. And anybody has the power within them. It just starts with self-confidence.
Thank you so much. And so you mentioned your life is like, it's a lot better after you moved to Florida. What's it like right now?
Life's pretty amazing right now. And what I mean by that, it's not really the things you might think of. David and I have experienced a lot of success, and it's given us a lot of opportunities, to do things that I never thought I would be able to do, like travel and have own a home, be able to own my own car, and be able to go and pay for it when it needs to be fixed, little things like that. But for me, the joy and the freedom that comes today that brings me so much happiness is what we're talking about, like being on that path of growth and self-discovery and really embracing who I am as a woman, even just being able to talk about that experience that we just talked about and know that that's part of who I am and that's okay. It's a good thing that happened to me because I am able to talk about it today in this way that might be able to help someone. And it really is just it's part of my story. And I embrace that today. I'm not like afraid of it, even though it wasn't a good time in my life. And I can use it to grow even further. So just being able to move into that mind space today, I feel really grateful for, and I feel really happy about that.
Awesome. I'm really glad everything turned out well for you. And yeah, I believe too, sometimes things happen to you for a reason, whether good or bad. And sometimes, those are things you can't control, but what you can control is the decisions you make to make your life better, right?
Definitely.
Like you decided at that moment that you needed to leave that guy because if you didn't, you might not even be here. I'm just.
Oh, I know. Who knows
honest, right?
What would have happened? Yeah, anything could have happened.
Anything could have happened, right? But knock on wood, you're great. You're safe. You're with someone who really loves you. Because like Dave is a great guy, and I've seen you guys, in pictures and videos and stuff, and like I think you guys are like the best couple on earth. So.
Oh, thank you. We have our ups and downs just like everybody else, but at the end of the day, we have like a mutual respect and love for each other, which I think hopefully does come through even in a photograph, and especially if you're able to be around us. So thank you.
No problem. So Erin, to the woman who's listening to this episode, she's inspired, to take action in her own life and discover her own self-confidence, right? What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I would say the one thing I would offer is, just kind of what we've been talking about, which is really give yourself permission to tell your own story and embrace it. Really discover who you are, what that means, minus all of the things society wants you to be. Even, minus your roles in your life, like a mother and a wife, so let's strip all that away and get down to who is Erin, who is Sheena, and for me, that's where true self-confidence comes from. Like embracing all of my qualities, all of the good, all of the bad, all of the positive and negative experiences I've had in my life, and really just owning that and saying, this is who I am. And because of that, I can do anything. I can accomplish anything I want to.
Wow, that's great advice, and I love that, right? Just accepting yourself for who you are, flaws and all, because it really what makes us unique as a person in the world. So thank you so much, Erin. If the listeners wanted to connect with you a little bit more, is there any social media profiles or any websites we can connect with?
Yeah, you can definitely connect with me on Facebook. I'm Erin Sharpe on there now. I used to be Erin Rita, but I changed it officially. I'm Erin Sharpe. I still have to change my driver's license. I'm just really totally procrastinating on that one because I don't want to go to the DMV. But
I hear you. Don't worry. I know what it feels like, the long lineups and
yeah, but I'm Erin Sharpe on Facebook. I still have room for friend requests, as pretentious as that sounds. So yeah, hit me up. I would love to hear from any of you ladies. And so, you could connect with me through Dave and I are building Legendary Entrepreneur, and his website is davidsharplive.com. We do coaching and events, and we'd love to hear from any and all of you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to the listeners out there, if you want to connect with Erin, just head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Erin's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Erin for taking the time to share her story. So Erin, thank you so much. Your story has been very inspiring, especially from where you came from and where you are now. It's such a huge difference. And I know this story is going to help somebody out there realize their own potential. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheena. I really appreciate you asking me. I was really just tickled when I heard your Facebook message, and I have to say I really admire you. I love following you on Facebook. I think you're a brilliant marketer, and I'm honored to be here, so thank you.
Oh, thanks. You just made me blush a little.
Oh.
Honestly, I was, in the beginning I was a little hesitant because I was like, what if she says no, or what if she,
no.
And then, here I'm doing a podcast about self-confidence, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Oh, that was your aha moment.
Yeah, everyone deals with self-confidence, right? There's no real cure, but it's just really just taking that action. So, Erin, thank you so much. And to the listeners out there, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetaoofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Subscribe to the Tao of Self-Confidence on iTunes or Stitcher to hear more stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence.